Okay, so Sok Tehillah Gemara. We are up to Rav Omar Hamani Rav Yaakov, which is about halfway down on Lamed Tes on the base. Now, our problem that we had, that we were trying to forever here, is we have a Mishnah that says that if someone does a mitzvah, it's mativen loy u'marichen lo yamav, sai gets olam hazeh, v'noichel ha'aretz, and he gets olam haba as well. Someone who doesn't do a mitzvah will not have that benefit. Yet we quoted a brisa that seems to say slightly different. The brisa says, "Kol shezechiyosav merubin me'avanosav." If he has more zechiyos, where our Mishnah says that everything is wonderful for him, the brisa says, "Marila," they make it bad for him, so bad that v'doime k'mishasarav kolater kula loishar mimeno afilu oisachas. That's how badly they punish him, as if he did such a terrible thing. And on the other way, if his averis are more, we're good to him. So Abai answered, the Mishnah also means that. The Mishnah means that a good day for a tzaddik is that we punish him, so that any aver that he has will be depleted, and when he goes up to Shemayim, will go straight to Gan Eden. That's how Abai learned. Rav Amar Hamani Rabbi Yaakov. The brisa that says that someone who does good only gets punished, so he should be perfectly clean, Lachamei Vreshim, is going according to Rabbi Yaakov, who holds the Amr Schai Mitzvah V'Hai Al Malek. We can't be mative with him here in this world, because in this world you don't get schar mitzvah, and the reasoning giving for it is that the schar of a mitzvah is so great, there is no hana in the entire world that can possibly repay someone for a mitzvah. So schar mitzvah hayal malekah, and therefore, he only gets punishment here to deplete his affairs. Rashi's Rav Amar Lo'ilim Kedamim Meikar that Meitiben Loi B'Schar Peiros VaKaren Kayemes. In our Mishnah, we remain that the peiros he gets to enjoy in Olam Haseh, and the Karen Kayemes Lo'ilim Haba. V'Achmas Nisad Katani Marian Loi, but the brisa that says that we're bad to him if he did mitzvahs, Rabbi Yaakov, it's Rabbi Yaakov. The Tanya Rabbi Yaakov Omer Ein Lach Mitzvah u'Mitzvah Sheksuva B'Torah Shematan Schar B'Tzido Shein Chisa Mesim Kluyaba. There's no mitzvah in the world that's written in the Torah that the Torah says what its schar is, that's not totally in Tchias HaMeis. Zogt Rashi shein Tchias HaMeis and Pluya, ba'oisa matan schar. The Torah doesn't often tell us the schar for a specific mitzvah, but when the Torah does tell us, the schar is always only available for us in Olam Haba. Why is that? To teach us that a mitzvah cannot possibly be repaid in Olam Hazeh, it could only be repaid in Olam Haba. And now we're going to run into a very, very famous Gemara, and this is a beautiful Agadah Gemara until the end of the parak. And incidentally, this is, I think, the longest parak in Shas. It's 40 blot, a little bit more than 40 blot. But some of these Gemaras are very familiar. The Kibbud Avayim Ksiv. By Kibbud Avayim, the Torah tells us what the schar is. L'man yarichon yomecha, u'leman yitav loch. That means you'll have yarichon yomecha in Olam Haba is how it's touched, and we're going to see that in a minute. B'shaluch hakein ksiv, l'man yitav loch. Again, v'arach yomim. So the peiros by the mazeh, v'keren kiyam Olam Haba. Hareisha Amar le'aviv. What if a person is commanded by his father, so he has the element of kibbud av? Alei lebira v'havei li gaizalos. Climb up to this building and bring me gaizalos, little birds that are in the nest. V'ala lebira, and naturally he had to make shluch hakein. So he's climbing up a ladder to be mechabed his father. Then he's doing shluch hakein. Both are mitzvahs that the Torah identifies, li Torah richashamim. V'shalach hasa'im v'not lasabanim. He did his job. Uv'chazirasa, on his way down, nofal umeis, he died. He fell and died. Heichan toivus yamav shalzeh. V'heichan Arichas Yomim Shosim. It says Yaman Yitavloch, the Harach Yomim. Where is the Harach Yomim? Where is the Laman Yitavloch? Someone who dies right after he does the mitzvah. How Yitachin? Ella, what the pasuk must mean is Laman Yitavloch is la'olam shekulei toiv, Laman Yarichun Yomecha is la'olam shekulei arv. All of the schar that's going to come to us for Kibbud Av, and all of the schar that's going to come to us for Shluch HaKein is only repayable in Olam Haba. Frag the Gemara, that's a very, very nice story that you've just imagined. But who said that ever happened? The Dilma Lav Hochiha. Who said such a story ever happened? You're suggesting if that would happen, so how could you possibly justify it? Who said it happened? Zok the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov Ma'aseh Chasa. Rabbi Yaakov witnessed. And it just goes to show you that depending on your perspective, two different people could witness the exact same story and have a completely different conclusion from the story. So Rabbi Yaakov saw such a tragic story, and what did he take out of the story? What did he extract? What lesson did he learn? Not that mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim aren't true. Rather, he learned that the schar of mitzvah is so great that clearly Olam Hazeh is not a place where it's possible to repay. It has to be done in Olam Haba. Frag the Gemara, maybe the mitzvah would have protected him, but V'dilma Mahar Baverha. Maybe he was being Mahar Baver. And Rashi tells us, what does that mean? Maybe he wasn't even doing this L'Shem Shemayim. And for the Gemara, he might have been thinking of doing an Aveira, but what's the difference? He didn't do an Aveira, and the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't make the Machshava of a Yid into a Maisa. He only thought to do a bad thing, but he didn't do anything at all. Then and therefore, he should not have been punished. Maybe he had here to do avodah zarah. That's already a different type of here, and here that we do get punished for, because the pasuk says twice as space Yisrael belibam, and we'll see this pasuk again a little bit later. It catches Yisrael in their hearts, meaning that's an aver that could be done belay. Maybe he was in the middle of doing avodah zarah at that time in his heart. Well, that was exactly part of what Rabbi Yaakov was thinking to himself. If we could get schar for mitzvahs in this world, then at least the mitzvah should have protected him, that he shouldn't fall victim to a hero of avodah zarah. That's at least it should be able to do that. If you can get schar mitzvah by halma, at least he should have gotten that schar. Elamai schar mitzvah by halma. There's an interesting thought I once heard from Rabbi Ox. He said it over from somebody, but I heard it from Rabbi Ox, that's Shlomi's father, Shlita. He spoke once in Jackson's Point. And he said, the halacha is that if you're in the middle of Shemona Esrei and the tzibur is up to Kedusha, what you're supposed to do is stay silent and think the Kedusha as if you want to say it with the tzibur. So, Zok Rabbi Ox, where does that come from? It's because B'chshava Toiva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitzaref L'Maisa. You want to say Kedusha with the tzibur. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mitzaref L'Maisa. If it's Mitzaref L'Maisa, then it's going to be a half-second in Shemona Esrei. Like I'll be bad things in Machshavah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitzaref L'Maisa. So therefore, if you have a hearer to say Kedusha, you get to burn the candle on both ends. You're Mekayim the mitzvah because Lagabe a mitzvah HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mitzaref L'Maisa. But Lagabe a nevera, Lagabe a half-second in Shemona Esrei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not Mitzaref L'Maisa. The Amar Rabbi Lozer said, Shlucha mitzvah ein nizoikin. So how is it possible that this person who was listening to his father and he was going to do the mitzvah Shluch HaKein, how could he be possibly been damaged? So Gemara, Hasam b'halichasam. That means on the way to do the mitzvah ein nizoikin. Hasam b'halichasam shiny. There it's different. Gemara v'Amar Rabbi Lozer Shlucha mitzvah ein nizoikin loy b'halichasam v'loy v'chaziros. We know that even after you do the mitzvah and you're on your way home from the mitzvah, even there you don't get damaged. Zok Gemara, and I think the Gemara is aborting the entire svara now that it's all here, and the Gemara is going now with a whole different shot. Sulam Ru'ah Hava. It was a very bad ladder, a ladder that if you would use, the Ministry of Labor would throw the book at you. The Kaviyah Hazeka. If you're using a bad ladder, a dangerous ladder, so you're putting yourself into tremendous danger, there even the mitzvah won't be able to protect. The Kaviyah Hazeka, if it's something where it's very dangerous, Loi Samchinon Anisa. There you cannot rely on the mace that the fact that you're doing a mitzvah will protect you. Where do you see that? The Chsiva Yermi Shmuel. Kodesh Baruch Hu sent Shmuel to go bring the carbon, and Shmuel was afraid to do that, even though he was being sent by the Rebbeinu Shloim. Ein loch shluchei mitzvah gedolah mizu. But what did Shmuel say? Eich elach, how could I go? V'shama shol v'argeni. Shama is going to hear about it. He's going to kill me. Could be he was sent to anoint David. I don't remember the exact story there, but whatever it was, Shmuel was refusing an order of the Rebbeinu Shloim because of a dangerous scenario. Beautiful, but a beautiful, beautiful Gemara. Okay, the Baltic. Rabbi Yosy. El Mole Darshe Achar Lahaikra. We're talking about Kibbud Avayim. The Michtav Milior of Dessler asks, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam and Chava min Ha'adama. Why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu create everybody min Ha'adama? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to make this whole thing that a woman gives birth to a child, and that's how children are born? The same way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam HaRishon, why couldn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu create all the generations the same way? Why did it have to go through birth? So the Michtav Milior says, it's because we have this concept of Karachem of Alabanim Keterachem Hashem Aleinu. In order for us to be able to even contemplate such a concept, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to create birth. If a mother gave birth to you, then there's such a love from a mother to a son, there's such a love from a father to a child that it's almost tangible that he would never do anything to hurt. He only wants to do something to benefit his children. To create that understanding by people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made that that's how people are created from previous stories. So we have that concept of an Av and a name. Because otherwise we wouldn't even need the mitzvah of Kibbud Av. So Zok to Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yosef, El Moli Darshi Achar Lahaikra. Achar went off to Derech. Had he darshan this pasuk, he would have never, Rabbi Yaakov, Bar Barte, like Rabbi Yaakov, the son of his daughter, Loi Chata, he would have never done Averis, he would have never went off to Derech. Because the Achar Mai have what exactly have my Achar that led him off to Derech? Ika de Amri Ki Hagav Nechaza. That's what it says, Rabbi Yaakov Bar Barte. So Zok Gemara, Ki Hagav Nechaza. He saw such a story where his son, at the instruction of his father, climbed up a ladder to do Shliach HaKein, and he did it, and he gave his father the eggs, and then he fell off the ladder. So instead of looking at it from the perspective of Rabbi Yaakov Bar Barte, that schar mitzvah by Hamalekah, you see from here a great thing that the schar was so much that it couldn't possibly be paid in Olam Hazeh. He looked at it from the opposite perspective of Rahman Latzad. The Ikadamri, there's others who hold that Lishne, the Chutzpus HaMatorgman Chaza, he saw the tongue of Chutzpus HaMatorgman, who was one of the Hasari Rigamalchus, Davagorle Davarach. It was being dragged along the floor by a Chazir. He said, Omar, he said, Pesh, a Hebek Margolios, Yalachech Ofar, a tongue that spoke Divrei Torah should now be rubbing on the mud, being dragged by this pig. Nofak Chata. Therefore, he went out and he did affairs. So, had he looked at things with the proper perspective, he would not have had his horrible end. Zok to Gemara Vater. Rami Rav Tuvi by Rav Kisna Rav. Rav Tuvi by Rav Kisna asked Rav the following question. Now it says in the Mishnah, that's what our Mishnah said. Also are you telling me Hashem is not mated with somebody who just sits and doesn't do a virus? He has to actively get up and go do a mitzvah? For a minute, I'm going to ask you a kaf. Yosh said in the Bryce, if someone sits and he doesn't do an Aveira, He actually gets schar, so he did a mitzvah because he didn't do an avera. Amar lei. So Rava answered back, Stamazoi sitting around doing nothing, that doesn't get you any type of schar. When do you get schar for Yosy v'le over avera? Ki goyin shabod var erva the var avera liyoda even he told me, man. Someone was faced with a nesoyan and he was able to overcome his taiva and avoid avera. Oy, that's gewaltig. That's kosher mitzvah. Like we all know the story when somebody I think called her a price and said, "The Rebbe Vuselachtin been doing the heim in the goite do in mafro and nishtu Vuselachtin." So price is the vice Vuselachtin gur nicht. He gur nicht. Why? Because that's mamish this gemara. Noisen loischar kosher mitzvah. Ki hodi Reb Chanina bar Papi tavati ahi matronisa. There was a shiksa who wanted to do an aveir with Reb Chanina bar Papi. So you know what he did? Amar Milsa, he said Hashem, and it filled him up with boils and cuts, something that would make him look repulsive and hopefully make her not be interested. Of the Milsa, she also said some type of Hashem, and maybe it was Gali Kishuv, V'itzi, and he got better. So he had to run away. Orak, he ran away. And where did he run to? He literally put his life in danger. Pasha Bahu Beibani. He went into a bathhouse that was known to be so saturated with mazikin that if you have an island betrayed, afilu b'yamama have a mitzvah. If even two people went together, and even during the daytime, the mazikin would have a koyach. We had a besmedrish like this discussed at the beginning of the Masechta, where there was a big tzaddik who came to town. I don't remember who it was, and I think Abai said, nobody should invite him home that night because I wanted to sleep in the besmedrish. I don't remember who it was. And he came, and there was a mazik that took the form of a snake with 7 heads, and every time he bowed down to daven to Hashem, one of the heads got knocked off. Right? So it was a very powerful mazik. L'mocher amr le'Rabbanan ma notrach. The next day they saw that he survived, and they asked him, "How did you survive? Who protected you?" Amalahu, you know who protected me? He said, "B'der chanivos," because of course it's not literal what he said. There were obviously malachim watching him, but he said, "Noisei keser shamruni kol halayla." The servants, the security detail of the king of the Caesar, watched me all night. Of course, it means I'm the malachim, the company people. So you see that the greatest shemira that a person can have in the whole world comes from, as the Gemara concludes here, Amr lei, how were you zoicha? Sorry. I guess that was available. I guess he ran to the first available, but that's a good question. Who asked him to go there? I hear. Maybe that was the closest place that he could go run away to. That's a good point. They told him, if you were zoicha to annex that you were protected, maybe Advar Erva came to you, and you saved yourself from it, and through that you were zoicha the Tanya Kolabot Dvar Aver Liyodoi V'nitel Himenu Oisin Leneis. It's funny, V'nitel was very passive. He got protected. The avoider that had to go into someone repelling such an advance is unbelievable, and he's zoicha to a neis that he was saved. Now it's interesting. Oisin Leneis means you could take it to the bank, you could rely on it, because you could have asked that he had a right to put himself into a makom sakana. So could be if someone does such a thing, he actually could rely upon it. Or maybe that's not shot. Maybe he didn't know. He just went into the close building, not realizing those dangers. But I'll call upon him. Someone, I think the Ben Yoda asks, "Vos epis if a dvar of air comes to your hand and you repel it, that you're zoicha to anes? What's the shaychus?" So he says very beautifully. The teva adam is that we have urges, we have desires. Someone who controls himself and he's not over in avera when he's in a matz of taiva, that means he goes against nature. He's breaking the laws of nature. Nature demands that we would want to do averis, and he's going against it. So if you go against nature to protect your Rebbeinu Shalom's Torah, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu goes against nature to protect you. I believe that's what the Ben Yoda says. I'm sorry?
Several mind push it. I mean, he have to buy it, but they changed it to a shin, shivra.
The Brechtzer. Very nice. Great strong strength to do the Ratzon Hashem, l'shmoya b'kol dvorei, to listen to the Ratzon Hashem. Who is this pasuk referring to? Dr. Hedel Gemara, Rab Tzadok v'cheiver. Rab Tzadok tavote yahu matranisa. He also had that problem, that a goyte wanted to be done with him.
Probably not only one time. She was mentioning him like the master of them, something like that. And that's why he had to run away, because she was the boss.
I hear it. I mean, Rashi said she had the koyach to hurt him. She had the power to cause him trouble. So Amar Law, he told her. So first he tried to push her off. Cholosh lili boy, v'loi motzina. I'm not feeling well. Maybe ika midol, maybe you have something to eat. Amar Law, she told him, sure, ika davar tummy. I actually have over here a delicious piece of bacon. Amar Law, really? My nafkamina, the ovid ha achar law. It stems perfectly. There's a good sign from Shemaim here, because anybody who would do this avera is going to eat chazer. So he looked at the fact that she didn't have an apple for him, she didn't have an egg for him, she had chazer tray. That was a sign to him that he better stay away from this avera. What happened was, is shagras tanura, kamanchaslay, kamanchalay. She wanted to warm up this bacon for him, this basar chazir. So it was a dover tummy. It doesn't say what it was. I'm saying that it's chazir lav dafka. It was a dover tummy. Well, Susie, maybe it was something else. So she warmed it up. She would put it into the oven. So Solach v'Yosy the Gavei, he jumped into the oven himself. He was literally Moshe Nefesh to avoid his avera. Amarli, my high. What's your problem? Why do you want to kill yourself? Amarli told her the ovid ha, someone who does such averas, nafal b'ha. So now she was already taken aback. Like, wow, that's a serious level of commitment to his religion. Amarli, she told him, iyadi kulahai. Even she started to respect his Yiddishkeit. Had I known if that you're such a Eurasian mind that you don't want to do this, I wouldn't have pressured you and caused you this tsar. Rav Kahana have a kamazvin dikule. He sold baskets, and there was primarily something that women buy. So unfortunately, all day long he was dealing with women, and because of that, Tavatehu matranisa. I guess one of his customers liked him, and Viter wanted to do an affair with him. Amrullah, he said, Angel ikshit nafshoy. You know, I'm sweaty, I'm dirty, I'm working here. Let me go take a shower. I'll be right back. And Solik v'kanofel me'igul ar. He went and jumped off a roof. He jumped off a building. He committed suicide to avoid doing it there. So Superman came. Also, Leo Kible. Leo swooped in and caught him so that he shouldn't die, crushed at the bottom. Because they always say falling off a building is no problem. It's the sudden stop at the bottom that causes all of the problem. Amr Lay. Elio told him, "Atrachton arba mea parsi." This schlepped. I was busy on a job 400 parsi away, and you were materially to come here to protect you. Omerlei. So the Yid told Afghana, told Elio, "Not my fault. Me gormly lavani yusa. You know why I had this whole problem? Because I'm very poor, so I have to engage in this trade of selling these baskets. If I had money, I wouldn't have to do this, and then I wouldn't be in this dangerous position." So Elio says here, he gave him a whole pack of shifa is a kli, a whole keli worth of golden dinar that he didn't have to do this a malach anymore. He got saved from the malach. So it's interesting to note, Elio, where did he get the gold from? So it must be that he was able to find gold that was hefker, treasures that were buried, that were long forgotten. So therefore, they would be hefker. So he didn't need a metal detector. Elio was able to see he was able to see where there was any buried treasures, and he brought that for him. So there's a lot of interesting Torah on these sugyas. So the first question that we have to discuss is, we have two people who committed suicide or who were prepared to commit suicide to avoid an affair. We have Rabbi Yitzchak who jumped into the oven, and we have Rav Kahana who jumped off a building. It was Rav Tzadok, Rav Tzadok jumped into the oven, and you have Rav Kahana who jumped off a building. I keep on losing my camera. Okay, so the shaila is, we know for 3 averos you have to be moiser nefesh, avoid zar gilas shfichas dama. But that means it's yaharek val yavar. If the guy says, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you, you have to let them kill you. But are you mechuyev to commit suicide? Are you mechuyev to commit suicide to avoid avera? A guy puts a gun in your hand, tells you must pull the trigger to kill your friend. Are you mechuyev to kill yourself? So that is the shiloh here, and it goes a step further. I'm sorry.
Rashi says that you did love.
Right. But they felt that they had to kill themselves to avoid the Are you allowed to? So that's one big shiloh. Here you see they did. But there's another shiloh. Let's say you're not mechuyev. So there's a shiloh in the Rishonim. If you're not mechuyev in Yahar Yavar, are you allowed to do it voluntarily? We know there are certain cases where it's even worse than a regular avera. There's a shaila here. Could be this was a goy, and it was for Hesya. Could be that's even worse. The Rishonim talk about that, and people talk about if you're mizana with a goy, that's not even that could be that's not even called gilir rights. But if it's for Hesya, the Chil Hashem factor makes it something that might be something that you should be much nervous for. But there's a shaila in the Rishonim. Halacha l'maisa. If someone is not mechuyev in giving up his life, is he allowed to? So many Rishonim hold you're allowed to. The Rambam holds if someone does that, it's mischayev b'nafshay. It's as if he committed suicide. So this is not a machlokes where you could be machmer or mekel. Either one's going to be a big chumrah. So the shaila here is if they weren't mechuyev to kill themselves, so that means they jumped into a case where it's a machlokes. The Rambam and the other Rishonim, but they were even allowed to do it. So this is a very big sugya. The other interesting shaila that the Ben Yehuda discusses is what happened to him. He came, so he asked for something to eat. Like, what was he doing? What was he trying to do? So the pashut of pshat is he was trying to delay. He was approached by this woman. He was taken off guard, so he had to gather his bearings to figure out how he's going to get out of this one. So first he figured he'll ask her for something to eat. Then when she brought out a davar tameh, so that triggered in him the thought that, this must be a simum min hashamayim, that I better stay away from this. But others say a beautiful pshat. And what they say is that it says, so there's a deeper meaning to that. There's a lot of mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us that we would do anyway, even if there was no such mitzvah. Let me ask you a question. Would you eat a cockroach? Nobody in their right mind would eat a cockroach. Yet the Torah gave us a mitzvah not to eat shkatzim or musk. So it's almost like a free mitzvah. I understand, but we wouldn't. So it's a free mitzvah. There's a lot of mitzvahs that are repulsive that we wouldn't do anyway, without the Torah telling us to do. Yet the Torah makes them into a mitzvah. Why? Because the Torah, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakos es Yisrael. The Rebbe Shalom wants to give us opportunity for schutz, but there are those who learn it's more than it. There's a lot of averas that are very, very difficult to resist. We have a natural passion towards them. How are we supposed to do that? Well, the Torah says we have to build our muscles like an Olympic athlete training. We have to build our resistance. When you pump that iron, slowly but surely you build those muscles. Every day it gets bigger and bigger. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a whole bunch of small mitzvahs that are easy for us to do. Why? So that we should pump our muscles and strengthen our koyach to resist the virus and to do mitzvahs. So that's exactly what Rav Tzadok was doing. He knew that there was a very overwhelming desire, and therefore he said, you know what, let me ask for something. He assumed she would give him a davar tameh, maybe a cockroach or something, which would be very easy for him to avoid eating, and that would be like a workout. After you come back from the gym, you're not going to break your diet because you're feeling geschmack, you're feeling strong. So that's exactly what Rav Tzadok's strategy was. Ask for something that he wouldn't eat anyway, resist it, build up his resistance, and that would help him be able to fight the Yetzer Hara. So it's a good eitzah. If someone is in a situation, it's easy to pick an aver that it's easy for you to do to avoid. You build muscles. It's like going to the Ruknis gym. So far, my record with the Gashmish gym didn't work out so well. Maybe I'll try the other one. Okay, Zok to Gemara. Zok to Hel Gemara Vater. Rami le Rava le Rav Nachman.
Don't use the word gym.
Right. I know what you're referring to. Okay, Rami le Rav le Rav Nachman. I'm not going to say over the story we're talking about. It's easy to resist the basar tameh. That would build up his resistance to be able to avoid doing a big affair. I'm not going to tell you a story about the rabbi and the priest on the train. where the priest was eating chaser, but we'll discuss that a different time. I'm sure Avigdor knows the story. Rami le Rava le Rav Nachman. Tanan, Elu Devarim Sha'adam, Oisa, Oison, V'achal Parashen Boilam Hazeh, V'akeri Keremes Lo Lo. The following list of items are things that a person does them and he benefits from them in Olam Hazeh, but the main schar is waiting for him in Olam Haba. Kiddushin, Kibbut Avein, Ukimilus Chasadim, V'Hava Shalom Shebein Adam Lachaverei, the Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. And in Hava Shalom is also, I think, maybe in Gemilus Chasadim. Because in our brayso that we say every day, it includes Bikul Chaylim. So now the Gemara goes to the Psukim where we see this from. The Kibbut Avim Ksiv, a double loshon. L'man Yerich and Yomecha, L'man Yitav Loch. So therefore we say it's referring to Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Gemilus Chasadim Ksiv, Roidev Tzedakah V'Chesed, Yimatzei Chayim, Tzedakah V'Chavod. Again, multiple. Uvavo Shalom Ksiv, Bakei Shalom, V'Ratfeyu. And we darshan Redifa from Gemilus Chasadim. V'Amar Abavo, Asher Redifa, Ksifacha Bakei Shalom V'Ratfeyu, Ksifasim, Roidev Tzedakah V'Chesed. One of the hardest things to do is maybe Shalom Shebein Adam Lachaverei, because the best way to get two enemies is to try to make peace between two people, and then both of them will hate you. The Talmud Torah Ksiv, Ki hu chayecha v'orech yamecha, v'shilucha kei nami ksiv, l'man yitav loch v'harachta yom. So Frag the Gemara to list the namiha. Why? Well, if the whole basis for everything is the double lashon, so why didn't the Brisa list off the case of shlucha kein as well as something that other Michael Parashem that can't come to? So a ton of a shire. The list does not always have to be exhaustive. Frag Gemara, you cannot say that here. Because Tana Elu Devarim, whenever the Tana presents something with an Elu Devarim, that's accurate. The At Amr, Tana V'Shire, and you're saying Tana V'Shire. Amarava, Rav Idi Asburli, Rav Idi was masbet to me the reason why Shaluch HaKein was omitted, because Amru Tzadik Ki Toiv, the Tzadik is good, Ki Pri Malaleim Yoiched, and they'll eat the pears of their ways. Break the Gemara. V'chiyesh Tzadik Toiv. What do you mean tzaddik ki tov? Every tzaddik is tov. So v'chiyesh tzaddik tov, v'chiyesh tzaddik she'ein tov, and l'tov l'shamayim l'brius zeu tzaddik tov. That's a good tzaddik. A tov l'shamayim v'ra l'brius zeu tzaddik she'ein tov. And of course, the Achronim ask, isn't there a rule that calls ruach habrius noichem menu, ruach hamokam noichem menu? But if it's any ruach habrius noichem menu, so how could you say he's Tovel Shemayim if he's Rala Brios? So I believe one of the Rishonim say, or maybe it's Ben Yoda, I don't remember who I heard it from, that Rala Brios here doesn't mean he's bad. Avad he's good to people, he's just not done people a kaf schus. Someone who's not done people a kaf schus, that's called a Tadik Shein Toy. But Avad he's mated with them. What was to a bad Rasha? Kigmul Yoda V'Yasaloi. His own meisim are going to cause him his own problems. Are there bad Rishoyim and not bad Rishoyim? L'Rala Shemayim v'Rala Briois who Rasha Ra. Rala Shemayim ve'Ein Rala Briois Zeu Rasha she'Ein Ra. Let's see if Rashi says what is called Rala Shemayim v'Rala Briois. Very interesting. Going Ritzeach v'Gazon v'Ganav. And what's Rala Shemayim Ve'ein Rala Brios? Megal Arayis, which is Rala Shemayim Ve'ein Rala Brios. I mean, maybe if he's Tamazana or somebody else. What are these Mazana with a close relative? Is that not called Rala Brios? But it's interesting how Rashi refers to that as Davke Rala Shemayim. Mavasa Moyadim. Someone who's Mavasa doesn't get proper covered to Moyadim is called Rala Shemayim. And Oichal Chelev is someone who's considered Rala Shemayim. So these are affairs that don't impact other people. Zot Gemara weiter. Haschus yesh lo keren v'yesh lo pears. The schus has keren and pears. Shenemar Amru Tzaddik Ki Toiv, and what is the rest of the pasuk? Amru Tzaddik Ki Toiv Ki Pri Malaleim Yoiched. Avera yesh lo keren ve'ein lo pears. Avera, you get punished for the avera, but you don't get punished for the pears of the avera. Shenemar Oila Rosh Ra Dafka. It says Ki Pri Malaleim Yoiched, but it doesn't say anything else. Right. If you do a mitzvah, you get double benefit, keren and pears. Karen, you get an Olam Haba, and Paris Olam Hazeh, but by Avera, you only get Karen. Because there's a double ocean. It says, and what does it say by Russia? Dafka Gemol Yodov Yasel, not Paris. By the Russia, it's Dafka Gemol Yodov, but by the Schos, it's Paris as well. Okay, Zok to Gemor Viter. The Elamani Mekayim, the Yoichlu mi Pridarkam, Umi Moy Atzoiseyem Yisbo, which is referring to Averis, which is much of the Paris there. Zok to Gemor, Averis, Aitza Paris, Yeshlo Paris. Sometimes you have an Avera that makes pairs. How does an Avera make pairs? Rashi, if you're going to cause other people to do Averas, that's called an Avera with pairs that you do get pets for. If you do Machshava Toiva, Kodesh Baruch Hu to a Maisa, and you get schar for the Machshava, so that's also can pairs. Shenemar Oz Nikru Yirei Hashem Ishal Reyehu Vayakshev Hashem Vayishma V'Yikosev Sefer Zikaron Lefanov L'Yirei Hashem U'Lechoysh V'Yishma. Someone who merely thinks of a mitzvah is going to be written down mitzvah. I keep on getting knocked off. I apologize. So my camera keeps on shutting down. My U'Lechoysh Shmoy Amar Basi Afilu Chosh Avodim Lachis Mitzvah V'Nenas V'Lei Osa My Love Akasu Kilu Osa. I'm just going to have to read it inside because it keeps on shutting off. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, Shenemar Oven Reisi Belibi Lo Yishma Hashem. Hashem doesn't listen to anything in your heart for Averis. Elamani Mekayim Hinni Mevi Eloel Mazah Ra Free Machshavoisam. So you see. HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes us for our machshava. So tomorrow, machshava shoysha pri. If someone thinks to do an avera, he plans to do an avera, and he actually fulfills it and actually does the avera, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzvah for the ma'aseh. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes back and punishes him for the machshava too, because it actually led to a ma'aseh. But I'm sorry. Here avera is not a mitzvah, but maybe we get petch for the here, but we don't get petch as if we did avera. So here you're saying you get petch for the machshava if you do the there. It could be we're talking about a type of hair that where the hair itself could be in the bear. There are certain hiruim that the hair themselves are in the bear. Okay, it could be that I don't know. Okay, and if all a person did was think to do in the bear, but he didn't fulfill it, then he won't get petra. That was the pasuk that we discussed earlier. Right, the Gemara brought this up when we were talking about maybe the fellow fell off the ladder while he was doing the mitzvah of shluch king for his father because he had a machshava avodah zarah. So the Gemara answered, if yesh schar by alma, he should have been saved from that machshava avodah zarah. But here it says there's an aver that is machshava. There are averas where here is an aver in and of itself, so that might also answer Duvi Shaila. The Amar Mar, Tamura avoidus kechavim shekol hakoyfer ba to moida b'chol haTorah. Really, it's telling us the opposite side. That chas v'shalom, someone who's oived avodah is a moida avodah zarah, it's as if he was koyfer b'chol haTorah. So it's a terrible aver. It's even b'machshava. Ula Amar.
The Gemara asked, maybe he was.
Yeah. I just mentioned that as you were out. I was mentioning that we had it by the person who went up the ladder. Okay, Zok to Gemara Viter. I'm going to try one more time to get the Gemara on screen. It's very, very delicate. No, it's not working. Okay, so Zok to Gemara. The Gemara Huna Kivin Shavar Adam Aver B'Shanaba. Once someone does an Aver once and he does it again, Hutruloi becomes muter. Frank Hutruloi Sokadaidach. There's no heter just because you did an aver to do it again. The nas is like a heter. So there you see that if someone does an aver again and again, the machshav itself already, he could be mitzaref to a ma'isa. That's what Rula says, going into Rashi, hadach siv, pri machshavoisam, where do we say you get punished for even a machshavara? Is ba'oiver v'shonik, someone who does have it the same aver again and again, There kihadum higher lasois then mitzarefes lamaisa. Even if you didn't do the Avera, the machshava alone there is mitzaref lamaisa. You know why? Because ein chazarasei l'shem shemayim. Clearly, when he thought to do the Avera and he didn't end up doing it, it wasn't l'shem shemayim because he was kodesh his yetzer, because he doesn't have that ability anymore. L'gabe this Avera. It just means that something else happened that prevented him from it. But he himself would have done it because Rav Huna says it's not like that. Amar Rabavo at Gazah, Mishom Rav Chanina, in the name of Rav Chanina, Noich loy la'adam to yaver avera b'seiser. It's better that a person should do an avera in secrecy, v'al yichal shem shemayim b'ferhesha. So it shouldn't cause a chil Hashem that other people see him doing an avera and therefore they'll copy it. Shenemar v'atam beis Yisrael, koyamar Hashem, ish ki lulav l'chu ivdu. Go do your averis. Go do your averis if you have to. I'll try one more time. It's so hard for me to read my Gemara without my reading glasses. But I don't have it. Let me just try a different plug. Sometimes they change plugs. It starts to work. Yeah, I think it's going to work now. I think it's going to work now. Go back there. Ish lulav l'chu ivdu v'achar im einchem shoymen elai v'shem kochi lo yisachalu. But if you're not going to listen to me, at least do the averis, but at least don't be machal my name. Rashi says, Hainu farhesya shaharoya mizalzel b'chavod amah. Amar beloy hazaki imroy adam. So this is a famous Gemara. Imroy adam sheyitzer miskaber love. If someone sees that he's not able to control his yitzhara, yelech l'makom shem makir nasai. He should go to a place where people don't recognize him. And he should put on black clothing. And he should cover himself in black. Go get it out of your system. That's so. But Tanya, we learned someone who was not careful for the name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, he should. It's as if he didn't come to the world, meaning he thinks Hashem doesn't see him when he goes privately. Mahi, what is the very referring to? Rabba Mazam Istakel B'Keshes, someone who looks at a rainbow. Rabbi Yosy Weimer, and this is what we're focusing on. Zeh ha'over avera b'seiser. This someone doesn't have avera b'seiser. Ki'ilu, he's saying Hashem doesn't see me. It's not fair. If you're able to be to rule over your Yetzirah, you're able to subdue your Yetzirah, and you do it anyway because Hashem doesn't see, that's a huge avera. That's royal shalabala. But if someone who can't, he sees he's not going to be able to overcome his Yetzirah, better he should avoid doing a chalasha. So what does it help if you go dressed in black and you go there? Rashi actually gives us some insight. First of all, if he's not dressed in his finest suit, he'll feel a little humble, and if that cuts him down a notch, it cuts his pride down a little bit, that humility might help him subdue his yitzhar. The gamim yechta, and even if he ends up doing the avera, ein adam noisin leiv, nobody will look at that and copy it. If they see some guy in the bar doing an avera, no one's going to say, "Oh, I can do it too." So A, try to bring yourself down a little bit, and B, so that in itself causes a little humility, and B is even if you at least people don't recognize you, and they won't say, "Hey, if he can do it, I can do it as well." And there are those who say the famous joke: "I dressed in black. I went to a place where no one knows me, and you know what I did? I met all my friends there." Right? So that's why I couldn't do that there. But there are those who say, when you're a guest in another place, your behavior is always better. When you're on your own home turf, you're more relaxed. But when you're a guest by somebody, you're usually going to be on your best behavior. So just going to a place where they don't know you, that's a place that also can help you avoid being over there here. Zok Tehillah the Gemara Bait.
Have kids guests and they behave. So put your tongue.
Dr. Geft always tells me, even if your children have temper tantrums, if they behave when they're by other people, then they're very healthy children. In your own home, they're supposed to be comfortable enough that they could let loose and do whatever they have to do. Never be concerned about that. If they have temper tantrums in somebody else's house, that's when you have a need to be concerned. Zog to Gemara back. We only have 2 minutes left, so we have to go very quickly. Tell them, Ein makifin b'chil Hashem. Normally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds on to your credit account and he lets it pile up. He won't punish you right away. But by Chil Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes right away. Echad shagi gevechad. Amazing. My Ein makifin. What does Ein makifin mean? I jumped the gun a little bit. Hashem doesn't treat it like it's a charge account. My berater Ravan Amar Loimer Shem Hoyse Shkula Macharas. Ein makifin means normally if it's 50-50, Hashem is not Machriel Hashem Choy. But if one of the avers on this 50 side is Chil Hashem, then even if it's 50-50, it's going to weigh down on the side of Chil Hashem. I wonder if you have one of those mitzvahs on the other side. Because remember, we said if it's 50-50 and you have one of those mitzvahs, it's Machri as well. But it seems like if Chil Hashem is there, it trumps everything. Tana Rabbana. Let's turn on to Amud Beis. La'olam, a person, person should always look at himself like he's 50-50. Therefore, also mitzvahs, Ashra, he's fortunate. He pushed himself to l'kavschus. Of aver achas, oiloi, a person always walks around feeling 50-50, he'll be especially careful not to mess himself up. Because of one aver he could do, other than the type of harbe, he could lose a lot because it could be machri him l'toy. Rabbi Elazar Shimon Aimer, take it a step further. You also have to look at like the world is 50-50. And the Yachad also goes right. Also, mitzvah achas ashraf. If you did the one mitzvah, you're unbelievable. What you're doing is having an exponential effect. By you tipping the scales on yourself, you're also tipping the scales on the whole world of kavschus. But okay, we better stop, even though we're almost at the Mishnah, but we'll stop here and we'll be mamshech tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, being that we're mamish ahead of the game, we'll learn at 6 o'clock.
For me, it's not good because we start tomorrow 6:15.